Hi, I'm Mark Bunker, and I'm running for Clearwater City Council. Now, some of you may know me for the past 20 years when I've been speaking out against Scientology fraud and abuse. Today in the Tampa Bay Times, Tracy McManus, reporter, had a story about Scientology's involvement in the Downtown Development Board. You may have seen me speak at the last Downtown Development meeting. So, if the problem downtown is Scientology, are Scientologists the answer? Scientology won't be the only issue that I talk about on this campaign trail, but it is an important topic here in Clearwater. Clearwater has a unique problem in Scientology, and I believe the city needs a unique councilman who understands Scientology and can take them on. You don't need to be afraid. I'm not afraid. I've been doing this for 20 years now. They haven't done anything to me. Oh, sure, they put up a smear site about me recently. It's amazing. Scientology has these attack sites against anyone who speaks out against them. Like Leah Remini. She had, for 3 seasons, done this brilliant show, Scientology in the Aftermath. And each week, when she'd have a guest on that show to talk about their own personal experiences of being abused at the hands of Scientology, well, Scientology would put up a smear site about them. People in this city, especially in the government, are afraid to say that Scientology is a problem. Even though they know it, they're frightened to say the word Scientology. Well, that's not the case with me. I believe it's important to call out Scientology for their fraud and abuse, and do so whenever possible. Now, I think it's actually easier to stand up to Scientology than people think. Scientology wants you to be terrified of them. They built up a reputation over decades of being a not a turn the other cheek type of religion. They want to intimidate you. They want to shudder you into silence. Well, I say, why? These people are bullies. Yeah, they have tons of money. Yeah, they are ruthless. But really, if you call them out, we've got the truth on our side. Here's an example.
Well, I am a Scientologist.
Yes.
I'm also a Christian. Most Scientologists are Christians.
In Scientology, you're really not supposed to be a Scientologist and a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim, although they will tell you that, and people will individually, members will say, absolutely, he's completely compatible with all other religions. But in the IRS filings, in order to get their tax-exempt status, Scientology had to put in writing, well, we don't force people to give up their other beliefs, but they are expected to abandon other practices and practice only Scientology. And really, there is pressure that's put on you as you go up the bridge. And they call it other practices.
You can apparently, in theory, be a Buddhist and a Scientologist, or Muslim and a Scientologist, or Christian and a Scientologist, unless you start practicing those religions. Now, the moment you start practicing those religions, you're now a squirrel.
What's a squirrel?
A squirrel is something which Hubbard coined as a term for somebody who either alters Scientology or does something else in addition to Scientology. You have to realize, Mark, that Scientology is a totalitarian regime in itself. It does not brook any variation from itself. You are a Scientologist, you have to be 100% a Scientologist and nothing less. If you're going to practice another religion, you're no longer being 100% Scientologist. Therefore, you are out ethics. So you have to be sent to the ethics department for correction. So if you're a practicing Muslim and you're being a Scientologist and they find out about it, you will be sent to ethics to stop being a practicing Muslim. So no, Scientology is not compatible with other religions. Back in 1996, I picked up some very wonderful books from a Christian-based religion. I won't go into details about that because it's personal, but the books were very inspiring to me. And it was definitely a Christian-based religion. And I was talking to other Scientologists about it because I thought, well, there's nothing wrong with this. I mean, it's helping me find out who I am. and it's helping me have a more of a spiritual base rather than just a technical base to my life. And there's no other levels I can do right now. The OT9 is not available. I finished OT8. So what else am I going to do? You know, so I'm reading these books, and I love these books, and they were wonderful. And I'm being handled, so to speak, on this stuff by Danny Keogh, who is Lisa Marie Presley's husband. And we're in ethics, and he's doing some ethics handlings on me as part of his training. And he's doing a pretty good job. Danny was a very nice guy. I like Danny. But at one point, it went off the rails because it was pointed out to me that I no longer could read these books. And I no longer could talk to anybody about these Christian-based books. And I was in protest about this. I said, no, I want to talk to them. I like these things. There's nothing wrong with them. And so one day I was sent to a little tiny back office behind the reception at the Fort Harrison Hotel. A little tiny room. I mean, you could barely get a desk in there. And Marty Rathbun was in there with an e-meter, and I had to sit down on the far wall in this tiny little cramped space on the cans while Marty Rathbun was there, convincing me hour after hour after hour that my reading of these Christian-based books was a violation of Scientology ethics. I said, well, I used all my arguments that you know, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, the First Amendment, the whole thing, but he wouldn't have any of it. And at the end, it was basically say, okay, well, listen, if you read these books, you are violating the Keeping Scientology Working policy letter. Therefore, you are out ethics. Therefore, you could be expelled if you continue to read these books. And so I had to make a choice at that particular time. So I didn't make a choice in the interview. I said, okay, I'll give it some thought. And then I found out that the very next day that this local Scientology bookstore, a Scientologist's bookstore owned by Virgil Wilhite, who had been carrying these books at my request because they were so good and people were so interested and loving them really. He was raided by the Office of Special Affairs at the time, and they said, you absolutely have to get rid of these books. You must not carry them anymore. I mean, it's like this Gestapo religion comes into his bookstore and tells him what he can't sell. And so he was forced by loyalty and ethics and threats and all kinds of stuff to not carry those books anymore.
You know, that fear that Scientology tries to instill in us, it only works if we allow ourselves to be frightened. But there's nothing to be frightened of. Scientology is humbug. That's right. All of Scientology is pretty much flim-flam and humbug. But there's no reason for us to be afraid of Scientology, or to be afraid of saying the word Scientology, or admitting when there's a problem with Scientology. Because the truth will shield us. They can't deal with the truth. It's the most effective attack that we have against Scientology's fraud and abuse. Call them out. That's what I've been doing for 20 years, and I'll keep doing. If you want to join me on my campaign, I'd welcome you to go to the markbunker.com website. You can volunteer if you want to knock on doors, you want to help us get people out to vote when that time comes. I'd love your support. If you want me to come and talk at a meeting, just let me know. I'd be happy to come over. If you want to have a house party, I'll show up. You want to get together at a restaurant with a few people, that'd be fun too. Just let me know. markbunker@gmail.com is the email address. Drop me a line there, or you can contact me through the website, markbunker.com. Oh, and feel free to make a donation too, because the campaign needs funds to make this thing successful. And you know Scientology is going to be pumping to a campaign for whoever is going to be running against me. So if you can, contribute at markbunker.com, and I will see you on the campaign trail. Bye.